Howdy folks, Windy Wanders the City with your host Paul today. I know I've been away for a while, just busy with life stuffs and the other channel and all that. Um, Not sure that everybody even still has notifications on, but we'll see what happens here today. We're going to walk down Western Avenue. I might turn on Chicago Avenue, which will take us through a neighborhood, or I might take us all the way down to Jackson, which we've seen that before, but let's see what's out here in the city of Chicago. Now, North Avenue is not as retail developed as Division is. On Division Street, you'll see all kinds of restaurants and such. North Avenue is just now starting to grow again there. So we've got 5 or 6 new restaurants here in these few blocks, east and west of Western Avenue. So we're on Western Avenue, just coming up on North Avenue. You're sharing a cup of coffee with me as well. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago. It's probably low 60s right now, moving up to mid 70s. Got a guy with his Pimp My Ride going by. So this is us looking down North Avenue. You've got the Lutheran church down there on the right-hand side. Howdy, sweetie Selena. Great to see you. Here we're at the Circle K. This is newer. These used to only really be associated with gas stations, but now they're just standalone convenience stores. And they're popping up all over the city. If you watch the other channel, you'll notice that we're going to go past something somewhat significant that's showing up there. So here we're starting to see a lot of this Rebecca Minkoff flyer. I won't go into all the details, but Rebecca Minkoff is associated with the other channel. I might have to clip that for the other channel as well. Here we're going to see some just beautiful mural work here on the wall. This is a neat place. It's like a coffee and juice place. You can see the murals inside here as well. I don't know if you can see it on the glare of this window, but TQ Experience. I think the next thing of real significance here is, right, there's some retail here, but the next really item of significance, we're going to go past the Roberto Clemente High School. I love these stoops. Just a reminder, Western Avenue, it is the longest contiguous street in Chicago. So it goes from the northern boundary to the southern boundary. If you go back early on the channel, my friend Jen and I, we walked the entire length of this, from Evanston in the north down to Blue Island in the south. You never know, Swedish Lena. You know, I do hope that you can get here. Chicago, yeah, again, I've always told you I'm very prideful of my home city. And it's not even really my home city. It's the biggest city near my hometown. I was raised, I've really never lived more than about 30 miles away from here. These neighborhoods would be almost self-sufficient. So you've got, here we're going to see that we've got the parking lot for St. Elizabeth Hospital. The hospital is kind of a block in. Got a little daycare on the other side. Tattoo parlor here, right? Wild Wind Tattoo Parlor. As I was saying, really never lived more than about 30 miles away from here. I grew up on the southwest side in Will County. Chicago is part of Cook County. It's the biggest part of Cook County. There are a couple of uh, cities and towns on the skirts of Chicago that are still in Cook County, but Cook County is really influenced by whatever Chicago wants. Somebody getting their morning exercise here. Ooh, a fast scooter on the other side of the street. Storefronts, you've got attorneys here. These are not what I would consider retail storefronts. These are more professional storefronts or service storefronts. They're not grocery stores, clothing stores, food stores, restaurants. We will be on the other channel this morning. So I'm going to start out here, just take advantage of a beautiful day here. Still wandering down Western Avenue. We're just south of North Avenue. As we get towards Division, it gets a little bit more neighborhood friendly in regards to retail stores. Across the street, you've got a little bodega there. And then we've got the Sunray Cafe on this side over here. See their menu real quick. Pop-up Friday. And then Pinoy Sol. I don't know. I think that Rey is Spanish for sun. No, Sol is Spanish for sun. Not sure if that was a Mexican restaurant. We're definitely seeing Spanish words, and I'm terrible at other languages. You all need to meet my wife. So we've got Meorio and Menudo. The band Menudo? Looks like it used to be an ice cream, but it's no longer in open for business. Beautiful building here. Right, this is the older quintessential 3-flat here in Chicago. And then you've got a brand new building, right? Just somebody knocked something down and built a big brick building here. The reason that most of these buildings are 3 floors tall, some are 4, but it's going to be that they're just a little bit taller than the 3s, is it was really a fire code, right? The idea that ladders could only get so high. So the building code would only allow for you to build the 3-story building back in the day, and Chicago had its fun with fires back in the 1800s. If we all remember the Great Chicago Fire, which was blamed on Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Very likely Mrs. O'Leary's cow did not start that fire. Got another tattoo parlor here next to a barbershop. M13 looks to be a print store. And now I think we'll start seeing the ball fields for a track and a ball field for Roberto Clemente High School. Roberto Clemente is one of those baseball players who I don't ever remember people ever saying a bad word about him. he just worked his butt off really hard, and he was incredible at, at being just that all-around baseball player. I think he was the first of Dominicans. Not sure you'll see it because I've got the camera in kind of narrow, but just next to the pine tree, you're going to see a blue flag. It's on the other side of the street. Above the white car, you'll see that little blue flag with the red streaming, and that's a banner that indicates a Puerto Rican neighborhood. We're on Western Avenue right now. California is the next major street, and that starts Humboldt Park. And from here to Humboldt Park is our Puerto Rican neighborhood. So they'll have Puerto Rican Pride days celebrating those. Now it still shows up on, Cinco plays here because there's a mix of the Latin cultures will coincide with one another. Puerto Rico became a U.S. territory after the Spanish-American War. We got like Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines. The Philippines were declared independent many years ago. I'm not sure if the U.S. ever really administered the government there. Howdy, Lady E. Wow, we've got all Southern Hemisphere and all faraways. Yeah, you do cricket, but I've heard those Australians can play the rugby game a little bit too. And then there's that little island to your east with the New Zealand. Are they the All Blacks? Here again, you've got the high school here. There's a pedestrian walkover, and then the hospital is just behind it. That's the other pedestrian walkover that you see in the background. Here you can see that flag a little bit more. I might zoom out, but then it gets really jittery. I feel like everybody gets seasick when I do my when I do the big one. Howdy, good morning. So apparently they rent out the high school for a church here on the Sundays. This is called People Church. And again, right, we've got the Roberto Clemente High School. Yes, we do. And Lady E, just in regards to the other channel, I will probably be up near Pretoria, Joburg, very early in December, and maybe we can figure out a way that I might need transportation. So I'll kind of work with you and Greg to see if you can pick me up at the family's home or near the family's home there, and we can go look at that. Does Australia have immigration clusters like the Indian continent or the Asian continent? Are there certain parts of Australia that are heavy, are noticeably Indian or noticeably Chinese or noticeably Japanese? If I recall, South Africa, right? If you're over on the east, like Durban, you're getting a huge Indian influence and Asian influence. Whereas you've got the Portuguese, Dutch, and English more on the western and the middle. I'm going to stop at this bench real quick and switch hands, put my coffee in the other hand. Again, you're enjoying a lovely Dunkin' Donuts with me. Yay, Dunkin', not a sponsor. So this, if you look, I don't know if you can see it on there, but above the doors, it says Edison Service. So this would have been a building that would have been put up by the old power company. In Chicago and most of northern Illinois, northwest Indiana, Commonwealth Edison is the electric provider. Got Olive Jewel Vintage Antiques. Ha! You can see the lamp, the Italian lamp there in the window. It must be from Italy. Look, Fragile. Gotcha, sweet. So it's like even in the States, most of the big cities have neighborhoods of ethnicity. This is a neat bar. It's the Empty Bottle. They have an awful lot of live music and very local. So if you're ever in Chicago and you can see, if we look up at their calendar, right, they've got something going on every weekend, right? 10/22, 10/31, 11/7, 11/9, 11/23, and then into December. Historically, in Chicago, if you were a bar or if you were a gentleman's club, you couldn't have windows, so they would have this block glass. That's always a good indicator that the location is a bar. Across the street, I've never been to this, but it sounds interesting. Tandoor Char House. Morning. Coming down to Augusta. So we passed Division. Division was where Roberto Clemente was. And then if you go east from there on Division, oh, this is an interesting little piece of artwork here. Let me see if I can get you up closer to the window so you don't have as much glare. Howdy, MD Media. Great seeing you. It's great seeing you out protesting a lot, too. I love that you're back out on the streets. And you've always been such a great promoter of my channel and so many other channels. I don't have a mod on this channel, but folks, if you get a chance to, MD Media has his own channel. He plays in the Scientology or anti-Scientology place. And he's starting up a new channel, The Faces of Scientology. Everything is so bespoke here, right? So that looks like hand-painted inflorescence, Chicago.com. Now we're down to Augusta. Augusta is 1,000 north. And if you look at the end of here, you see the two silhouetted machines. You've got Bloomingdale buildings, sorry. You've got Bloomingdale's on the left, and then the big tall one in the middle is the John Hancock Center. And John Hancock is 875 North Michigan Avenue, and then the Bloomingdale is 900, and that makes sense that we're at 1,000 right here, so you can see that pretty easily. This is actually kind of a rarity, although we're kind of far out. We're probably 2.5 miles from the city center at this point, like the Central Business District when we're up here. But gas stations are a rarity in Chicago. You've got St. Helens School there, right? It's a Catholic I think it's an elementary school there. This, you can just see that right row housing, all the 3 flats down that road. Now, there would have been a time when that 3 flat would have been a well-to-do family, and they would have owned the entire stack. But almost all of those have been split up into either 3 flat condos or 3 flat apartments. Salsa Picante 949. Tacos, salsa, and all. This is an interesting building here. Again, I've got you on the narrow focus, so maybe you're not seeing it that well, but all the exterior patios. Got Stella's Bar. Now, that yellow notice there looks like they're in trouble with the city. That one might not. That one might be a water bill not being paid. Now we're into Ukrainian Village. The massive Eastern Orthodox Church is about 4 blocks east of here. This looks to be a converted church. So at one point in time, this would have been a church, but now it looks to be entirely apartments. Beautiful little park in here. Oh, am I mute right now? Okay, thank you. Swedish Lena's trying to trick me. Here we're seeing 2 massive new developments, right? So this building is all new development. A little bit more mural work going on here. It's kind of a bodega as well as a liquor store. Got a little bar here. So, right, you're seeing that we're moving, the closer we get to the city. Oh, that wasn't a notice of being shut down back there. There's a filming notice going on here. So, and this is fairly common. You'll see this all over the city. A lot of people film here in Chicago. So just letting people know that there's going to be some filming going on here. Now, usually these have code names, like Love Language may or may not be the actual movie or TV show being filmed. They'll put something else in there because they don't want, let's say, the photo bombing of people coming into the shots for those popular shows. Hey, Janelle. So we're walking down Western Avenue. We're going south. Another gas station here. Western Avenue was also the automotive corridor. So if you're up north on Western Avenue, all kinds of used car dealerships. So it's kind of known for that. There is a Hasidic or Orthodox Jewish neighborhood up at the top of Western Avenue, as well as a large Indian neighborhood. They call it Little Bombay up on that end. Here we're going past, right, we've got the Ukrainian Village to our left, and then more often than not, Hispanic to our right. Bed and Bath Little Daycare here. Hey, Joe Cool, how you doing? All right, I'll look for those. Pretty sure you've got my email, but you can also just send them through text. Now we're down to Chicago. Again, pretty busy street when you get to Chicago. A lot of east-west flow. So if you're ever here in the city, um, Western has an express bus, which takes like every third or fourth stop. But that's a way to travel north-south very quickly. Traditionally here in the city, you have to take all of your transportation into the center of the city and then come back out. There's not as much that are going to help you work. If you're on the outskirts of the city, you can't go from the northwest to the southwest very easily. Joe, not sure if you're out west or if you're here, but we had some cool days this week. We had some freeze warnings back there on Wednesday and Thursday. Here you've got Dark Matters Coffee. They're one of the roasters that's here in Chicago. Howdy, Henry Forever. We're just heading down Western Avenue, taking in all the sights, going past again another car dealership here. To me, this is very pretty. I love the tree-lined streets, and we're about to see all these trees change. Same thing going out west, right? Just such a nice neighborhood. I'm sorry, I might have said Henry, I meant Erie. Not sure if you'll see this, but this building looks so sad. It sags in the middle. This the brick building that's got Badger Murphy. It just looks like it wants to fall down. Let's get some prices here. So here we've got this is the pretty far north, it's in this area on Austin Avenue, 2-bed, 2-bath for $259. See what the big dogs are here. Most of these look to be pretty reasonably sized buildings. Here you've got a 4-bed, 2-bath, up to $1 million. 6 beds, 3 baths on Winona. That's going to be pretty far north as well, $1.5 million. I'm always intrigued when I see these little boutique realtors because they do have just about everything, right? There's the studio apartment all the way up to the penthouse condo. $85 is a nice temperature. I can live with that. Now, just coming into sight, I don't think you'll see it on the camera here, but you're about to see a railroad overpass. So that's one of the big commuter rails. That's Union Pacific heading out of the city westward. Now, typically, the trains leave the city center. So you've got Union Station, Ogilvie, LaSalle Street. They'll leave the station and they'll all follow this western corridor down It's basically between Grand Avenue and Hubbard. And then about 2 miles west of here, they'll start splitting north and south. Got another Catholic parish over here. Now, long before Chicago would use neighborhoods to define themselves, it was what parish do you live in? So more often than not, you would tell people the parish that you live in or what church you went to, and that's how you would let people know where in the city you lived. They're setting up for some celebration here today. It's got a griddle out there. It smells good. Making some sausages. I don't know what sausage they're making, but I could see that there was an awful lot of sausage on that grill. Again, just beautiful tree-lined space here. We're still considerably north of the Loop, so it won't be until we get to Lake Street that we'll be kind of in that boundary. Now, we'll still be pretty far west. We're about 2 or 3 miles west of the Loop. Here we're coming up, so we're basically Grand and Western, well, at Grand and Western, and you're seeing the sign there for Armanetti's. That used to be the go-to liquor store. So growing up, no matter where in Chicago or in the suburbs you were, Armanetti's was the boutique liquor and wine store. Not sure exactly what this is, but I've seen it a couple of times and just never really gone over to investigate. But there's a big dome back there. So I don't know what they've got in it there, and there's vents letting some kind of gas out of it. It might also just be a salt dome, and it might be something related to the rail yards. So as we mentioned, right, you've got the Grand Avenue corridor where the trains come by. The massive train yard is just a little bit to our west now. Got all the advertising for the liquor companies over there. Yeah, I might try and stop in for food. I've got my coffee with me. One of the challenges I have with that is that sorry, that was kind of loud. One of the challenges I have is that it can get kind of loud. Or I'm sorry, no. Some store owners don't really like having cameras in the store. Now, I never understood it because it was like, wait, I'm about to give you some advertising. Apparently, Chicago's got a new casino coming in as well. We're coming up to Hubbard Street. Now, Hubbard Street, if you took this in towards the city or it's to our left as we're looking up here, you'd be kind of in the heart of River North, which is, again, just north of the Loop. There's the river that divides the city center from River North with all the movable bridges. Beautiful park over here, and now you're seeing that's where you can do both buses and commuter train stations. So you can start switching train stations. You might have come out of Ogilvie, but you need to get on a Western or on a Union Station train. That would be where you could do that. You can see an old train yard switching house up here. So behind the two billboards, what would have happened is that this that building, the white building with the black roof, it's got the vines all over it. That would have had full-time um, rail yard workers in there, and they would be looking for the trains coming down the tracks, and they would be alerting people as to what switches to throw in order to divert. Because above the tracks right here, there is only 2 or 3 sets of tracks, but then as you move into the rail yard, there's 15, 20 sets of tracks. Oh, gotcha, Swedish Lena. This looks very eerie in the camera. It doesn't look at all as eerie. Like I can see a glare or a haze in the camera. But yeah, I'm seeing very clearly. Now, as we look ahead, you see another bridge that's going over the streets, and then that's going to be the elevated platform. So that's Lake Street. For those of you that would have been watching the DNC, a lot of it did its staging kind of over in this area. So the protesters, before they would march, would stage over in this area. Mostly light industry at this point. So we're not seeing retail as much. You know, it's pretty obvious that you're seeing industrial works with the large trucks, the large barrels. So um, whether it's chemical or food coming in there, which made perfect good sense, right? If you've got light industry, you want to be able to be near rails to move your raw materials in cheaper and to move your finished products out cheaper. And now we're coming up to Fulton. I might start heading east. Maybe we'll kind of zigzag as we head to the city center here. We'll go through, again, a lot of light industry in this area, but then we'll start coming out on, you've heard me talk about it on the channel before, we end up in kind of a little Italy. So the Italian neighborhood used to exist right where the Congress Expressway leaves the city. And when they decided they were actually going to finally build the Congress Expressway, they had to kind of displace a lot of the folks in the Italian neighborhood. So you're going to see an awful lot of, well, there's like 3 Italian neighborhoods in the city because it was split up that way, right? That some of the people stayed in that northern section when the highway went through. Some of them are in the southern section. So you've got Taylor Street down by the University of Illinois, Chicago. And then you've got a couple of other smaller Italian enclaves. In this area, you'll see a couple of coffee houses, coffee grinding houses, as well as distilleries, beer breweries. Seeing daily meat supply. So Fulton Market, which now is almost all restaurants, this used to be the meatpacking district. Early in my career, I worked for a company that was in this area, and we were the only one. It's now the Chicago Public School administrative building. But at that time, us and Oprah with her Harpo Studios were the only ones out in this neighborhood. And we'd be coming to work with our briefcases and suits because it was IT, and back in the day, IT, you came with a shirt and tie. And you'd be walking through the drippings of whether it be poultry or slabbed beefs and pigs, just running through the gutters in that area. And it was just so odd. There was such a contrast in how you were dressed. I'm going to slide over to the other side of the street, just get in the shade a little bit. The contrast. Of the two different workforces that were in that neighborhood. A lot of these buildings, again, they would have been older. That there's not a big reason to knock these down and make new factories, because light industry isn't something that grows here in Chicago. I'm not saying there's no light industry in Chicago, but there's very little light industry in Chicago. If they do knock down any of these buildings, chances are they're going to put up a residential in its place. Now, if you did have light industry, it's rather affordable rents. They have a hard time renting most of these buildings out, or selling any of these buildings. Are those Tesla chargers there on the wall? And you're probably getting ugly glare from the sun, sorry. You've got, again, the train tracks, the elevated, those would be the green line. The pink line doesn't make it quite this far out. The pink line's already turned south. It's kind of interesting if you look across the street there. It's just a brick building that they would have put up, but there is, I'll put it on the bigger camera. You see the little faux rooftop over the door, and then the white strips there of granite in the middle. So there was some architectural pizzazz or desire to beautify the building as they were building it. So sorry, when we're on the telephoto, I know you can see further, but I feel like I'm making you all sick because it bounces so much. Yeah, I'm gonna drop it back down to the other one. Maybe it's just me that it makes sick looking at that, or seasick. Back when we were working out of that place, it was a very large consulting firm, and again, being the only ones that were out in that neighborhood, there would be a shuttle bus from the train stations out to our neighborhood, and then Oprah was there, but Oprah just had that hour-long show, so they were busy for about 2.5 hours every day. And there was a little restaurant there that she made super famous called Wishbone, right? And they were it was one of those where you pick your vegetables and your proteins and you take them up to the chef, uh, and the chef blends them all together and then brings them back out to your table. But that was one of the few places you could go. There was a couple of Greek lunchbox places. As we look forward in the background, right, you see the skyscrapers. They're still silhouetted, or there's some haze between here and there. That tall building with the spire on top is Trump Tower. None of the other ones that we're really seeing here are named buildings. Now, again, if you were the architect, you'd want to you want to say yes, they are named, but they're really not significant buildings. So now we're coming up to Ryan Hall Distillery on the far side of the street, and we'll have coffee on our side of the street. Morning. I like just that they've repurposed the area to make it pleasant for residences. Now, if you go block north or block south, you're seeing residences. Um, so you've got L. Wolf Manufacturing. No idea what they would have made back in the day. And then we're coming up to the coffee shop. I definitely want to come back here someday. So it's the Ryan Hall Distillery. They have a tasting room as well. No idea if they're dark liquors or clear liquors. You'll see here. So there's a couple of signs. You might not be able to read them, but the white sign that's going over it is the Kinsey Industrial Corridor. So right, this is light manufacturing, and Richard M. Daley is taking credit for setting up this neighborhood. And then on the train, the signage is for Goose Island, the brewery and tap room. It's up at the corner of Fulton. There's actually one in this neighborhood as well. And then again, to the south of us, we've got the CTA elevated green line. All right, does he still own it? Remind me of what I was talking about then, Svitlana. So here we're seeing about 20 years ago, Chicago had a little bit of, they had an idea where what they did is they put, it was cows that, again, going back to the Great Chicago Fire and the cows, and also being the stockyards, that they would allow companies to sponsor either themselves or somebody else to paint a cow, and then these cows were placed all over the city. And then at the end of that year, people then auctioned off and purchased those cows. But that was so successful, and it brought, it was great for tourism. It allowed artists to kind of show off their abilities. And ever since then, we've had so many other things, and that there was the version of dogs. Howdy, Cubs champion. How you doing? We're here wandering Chicago. I think we're on Fulton still. I think the wings right there is Intelligentsia Coffee on the corner of that building. Seeing again a little bit of, well, somebody's got a beautiful mural and then it was marked over, right? So Melina Scott did the original artwork in August of 22. We're about to come through, this is Goose Island's Fulton Market tasting room and brew house. Not brew, yeah, brewery, brew pub. Oh, yes. As much as you might want to think he owns anything, that was something that he built from the ground up. And if you remember, the very first season of Apprentice, the guy that won, Bill, I can't think of what his name is, and he married the news show host, Giuliani something. But the prize for winning that was he was the project manager for the next year at Trump Tower here in Chicago. By the way, they're finding all kinds of, I don't want to talk about politics, but financially, there was some shenanigans that went on with how these buildings were financed. So here you're seeing the Goose Island, and up top, those are grain bins. So whether it's corn or hops or barleys that are being stored up in those white towers, and then they've got mechanisms to be able to pass them down in. Here you've got the brewer's entrance on this side, and it's the fermentation cellar. A lot of what they make here is the beer called Sophie, which is, to me, it's a Belgian style, but that's just kind of the way that it comes off to me. But with that Sophie as a base, they make 6 or 7 different other beers as well. They do some barrel aging in this room. And then here you can see they've got the Sidewalk Cafe, and it's probably 2,500 square feet inside of there of a very small bar and several tables. We'll head down Wood Street. We're going to go past one of my friends. He works for oh darn it, the investment firm. Starts to see they're no longer here. Regardless, he does very well, and he's a part owner of this brewery down here, which is the Great Central Brewing. Now, Great Central doesn't have any of its own brews. They've got the massive building and the brewery room, but for the most part, they've got the equipment and they allow the overflow from other breweries to come in here and leverage their facility. walk over there and we'll go past the room, kind of poke in. Not sure how much we'll see in there with the glare and everything, but yeah, Juliana. Yeah, Bill Rancic. Thank you. So here you've got just a big room. Not sure if I get close enough up if it'll take all that glare out or not. Long, like long tables with long benches. And then we've got the brewer's entrance here. He's an interesting fella. I have so many friends that have such an international flavor to them. He's married to a Taiwanese woman, so they live in Taiwan right now. They lived in Hong Kong up until that was turned back over to China. But he's lived all over the world. Citadel, that was the company. So Citadel. And Citadel, I think it was Ken Griffin or Ken Griffith, something of that nature. I'm a big fan of his because he's the one that funded all of the bike paths. So he funded the city all of the money to build the bike paths along Lakeshore Drive, so that the runners could have one path and the cyclists could have another path. He used to be based here in Chicago. I think he's moved to Florida since then because the taxes here just got ridiculous. These are folks that look to be salvage, right? So these pickup trucks are just loaded to the gills with metal rubbish, and they're going to wait for salvage yards to open up. Now we'll kind of get into a little bit more residential. There's a number of kids up ahead, so I'm going to go underneath the L tracks. Always uncomfortable. You can see the building there, the residential building there. I'm always uncomfortable putting kids on film. Now this would have been, I would have told you, we're close to the United Center. The United Center is where both the Bulls and the Blackhawks play. There would have been a time where I would have told you, do not wander outside of the stadium. It's a tougher neighborhood. And it still is, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Earlier I told you that told you about the pink line. So as you can see, if we look underneath the tracks just ahead of us, there's a curved element that goes south, and that's where the pink line heads south. So it starts up here on the green line, and then it heads south onto the pink line. You've got I think that's Ashland. So there's a train station ahead of us, and we'll walk to see that. I'll let you see kind of the superstructure or infrastructure of the Green Line tracks here. It's very monotonous if you're ever looking down here. Every once in a while, I'll run down here on an early weekend. This isn't a well-traveled road. There's plenty. There's a bike lane and a parking lane, and it's usually pretty easy to travel down this road. But it's one of those. If you tried to count all of the piers or the supports here, you'd forget very quickly. And I think what we'll do is, as we get up here, this is kind of Union Park, and this would have been where you would have seen all of the protests kind of staged from during the DNC. And then we've got the train station house up above the light green color or pastel green. I don't know what you got there. That is the Ashland, and I'm pretty sure it's Ashland. Um, the Ashland train house for the Green Line. All right, for those of you that have interest in the other channel, I should be over there within the hour. So I don't really like to advertise that channel on this one. This is just a let's walk around the city. Let's not worry about polarization. But I'll go ahead. We'll shut her down here, and I will charge stuff as I continue my wander over to the other channel. Thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate you really appreciate you being here. Hope you all have a great day. Yeah, that's Lady E. That is a true state. Well, I'll say historically that was always a true statement. Now it's less so. That you should feel fairly comfortable in the zone where the rapid transit is regarding trains. They're well protected, well guarded. There's cameras everywhere in regards to that. All right, folks. We're going to go ahead and shut it down. I will see some of you in a little bit. Thanks all. Bye-bye.